So at the very outset, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the following members: Shri P.T. Sopme, Srimati Dr. Ampreen Lindo, Shri Himalaya Champliang, Shri Merelbon CM, Shri George Lingdo, Shri Mohendra Rapsang, Shri Macmillan Barsat, Shri Violet Mikeshela, Shri Kimfa Marbanyang, Shri S.K. Sun, Shri Edelbert Nongrum, Shri Balajit Kupar Sindrem, Shri Rakham A. Sangma, Shri Jigur Marthong, Shri Rupert M. Momin, Shri Zenith M. Sangma, Dr. Mukul M. Sangma, Srimati Miami Dishira, Shri Sostenes Sotun, and Shri Pius Marvin for having participated in this general discussion on the budget, and more importantly, giving a lot of constructive suggestions on the different aspects of budgeting and different aspects of economic development and concerns about their respective constituencies. So when you send me that small slip asking me how we should move forward in this discussion and suggesting to me that you would like to give time to everybody, I went ahead also with your suggestion and decision that since so many members, especially the young members, the first-time members wanted to participate, you had suggested that we should allow them time. And I think it has been a really fruitful and I should say very encouraging debate, seeing so many people participate. I think this is the maximum I've seen participation in recent years, where we had we had 20 members who participated. And such great suggestions have come out of all those points. So let me assure you, I have almost close to 3 booklets of notes that I have written myself of all the points that the members have made. In fact, at one point I ran out of space, so I reduced my handwriting size also to really micro size, because I could not fit in all the points. But my point being so that I have taken note of almost every point that has been mentioned by every single member, myself, sir. So that assurance I want to give everybody, and so it is a personal attention that I'm giving to all the points that have been mentioned by the member. But having said that, sir, it will be almost next to impossible for me to touch on every single subject, and it will be very difficult for me also to reply in a systematic manner, because there were many points that were repeated, and obviously many points that were not in the same sequence. So therefore, I do seek your apology in case I'm not able to present the reply in a proper structured manner, but I will do my best to do that, sir. So let me just give you a brief that I would like to divide my reply into 3 sections. So first section, I would like to focus on the governance aspect, on what we have decided and how we have moved in the past 3 years on governance. Second, sir, I would like to focus on a few key projects and programs that we feel are going to be key in this coming financial year. And the third part will be to try and touch on some of the concerns of the MLAs that have been brought up during the course of this general discussion on the budget, sir. So first of all, I would like to start off with governance. So when we took over the government in 2018, I was asked a very specific question by the media. What is going to be the focus of your government? And I had stressed on many points, but one of the key areas which I stressed on a lot was the delivery mechanism, the overall governance, ensuring that the efficiency at which schemes are implemented must improve, and the benefits that go to the grassroots must reach in maximum amount and at the shortest period of time. So the overall focus on governance has been key for our government in the past 3 years. Another very important aspect of our work in the last 3 years has been the holistic approach. We have tried to see that our development programs should not be city or town centric. We realize that maximum population of our state lives in the villages and in the rural areas. And we need to ensure that just because we happen to move more in town areas and city areas, and yes, cities and towns do require the development also, but there needs to be a focus where it's holistic, there needs to be focus on rural areas, and there needs to be regional balance. So we have always maintained that areas which have been neglected in the past, for whatever reason, should not be neglected in the coming years. Whichever areas have been not given the importance in terms of rural development, those areas must be given importance. So these two key factors of ensuring that governance and efficiency improves and a holistic and a balanced development program takes place were one of the key drivers in terms of our governance work, sir. Now, what has happened in the past 3 years? So this particular financial year, I'm happy to inform all our our members of this August House that the government overall spending in terms of our budget will be the highest in the history of this state. We have never spent more money than we have this year. And we are going to end up spending more money in the coming years, is what our estimates are. Now, this is a very, very important thing, sir. Now, where did this all aspect come from? So one is to realize that we have limited resources in terms of our state's revenues. We have a set amount that comes in from the center in terms of our share of taxes. But then the centrally sponsored schemes are big. The externally aided projects are big. And to a large extent, whatever government of India, based on the different acts and norms, allows us the maximum limit of loan component, we take advantage of that. So with these three factors, you will see, sir, that in this financial year, we have seen the highest spending. If you look at PMGSY alone, we have reached a spending of over 600 crores in terms of the funds that have been released. Just as recent as last week, we have released another tranche, and we expect that we will get another 200 crores within this financial year to spend for PMGSY. And this has happened because we have been very efficient and quick in releasing the money that comes from center. We don't hold on to CSS. We immediately release them, get the UCs, ask for more funds, and that's how the overall spending in the centrally sponsored schemes has taken place. Some of the members raised concern that centrally sponsored schemes were not being implemented efficiently, but that is not true at all, sir. Apart from PMGSY, let me also inform the House that the JMM has been really effectively implemented at the grassroots level. Now, we had a budgetary allocation of approximately 172 crores in this financial year. And I had a meeting at the beginning of this financial year to discuss about the implementation of this. Government of India was not very happy with the implementation because the project was just started, and in the first few months, our performance was not that good. But then as soon as the Honorable Minister, myself, started reviewing this regularly, so I'm happy to inform you that we might be the only state that has completely utilized the entire budgeted amount from Government of India of 172 crores. And we might be the only state that might actually be eligible to get bonus money from Government of India in terms of JJM scheme. This is a great indicator of how efficiently the system is working and how efficiently we're getting additional funds to now implement this project. And as I said, we may be for one of the few states that will get bonus amount. That means a reward for implementing the scheme well. Another example of this is the MGNREGA. And under that, under the Manrega, we have spent this year, or we will be, when the books close to 1,600 crores. This is a huge jump from where we were. So today, if you were to just compare a state as big as Assam, I'm repeating what I said earlier, but it's just for the sake of the House, that a state as big as Assam, which is maybe close to 10 times our size, roughly has a budget and an expenditure of 2,000 crores when it comes to MGNREGA. And we, being 1/10 the size of Assam, we have an expenditure of 1,600 crores, almost the same as Assam. And as I said, we are among the top 3 performers, and this has seen an exponential growth in the last 3 years. If you were to convert the wage component of what we give under MGNREGA today to the people, it roughly comes out to rupees 17,000 rupees to every household, to every person who is working in the household. So therefore, this kind of expenditure increase, this kind of an efficiency increase, as I said, overall governance and delivery mechanism improvement is really something that has really made a difference. And that is why today, this financial year will be the highest ever that Meghalaya has spent in any given financial year. So this is historic, sir. Another very important aspect of governance and delivery, which I would like to show with an example, is a simple example of the CM scheme in the social assistance plan. Now, this was a great scheme that was started earlier, in the earlier regime. And I always maintain this, sir, and I'm very, very clear in my thoughts when I say this, that we don't undermine the work of previous governments. We don't. We have always appreciated work that has been done, and it is always a good practice to appreciate each other's work. But we look at ways on how to improve them, how to make them better. So last time some of the members were mentioning about the CM Social Assistance Plan. Yes, it was a good program that started. But there was a small problem with that scheme, and the problem was it used to come once in 9 months. So the old people, the aged people, and the widows and the disabled people, they would have to go every month to the bank only to find out that their money was not there. And then it's expensive and tiring for these people sometimes to go because they're old people, so it's not possible for them to go all the time. So they would go up to the banks, then they would spend money, and they have to come back empty-handed, only to know that the money has not been transferred. Then as a member of parliament, I remember going to have the Disha meetings in the blocks, and 50% of the complaints used to be this complaint that our old age pension is not coming on time. So when we took over the government, I came out with a scheme where we ensured that the money for the for the old age pension and the basically all the CM social assistance plans are released in a quarter advance. So the money was given 3 months ahead, so that every week, every month on the first week itself, whatever is due would go into the bank account of the beneficiary. Now this is a big change, sir. It's just a small tweaking of the same scheme, but we just made it better. And now the beneficiaries are getting their benefits on a monthly basis, just like the employees of the government are getting it on the first. Most of the beneficiaries today are getting this money either on the first or within the first week of every month, sir. And similarly, the same complaint we had with master rolls. So we realized that even the master rolls in different departments face the same problem. There would be twice in a year they would get the salaries. One would be before Christmas, and one would be before the year ending. And this obviously used to make it very difficult because they had monthly expenditures, so school fees to be paid, different kind of expenditures for running the household. Therefore, like we did in the CM Social Assistance Program, we started releasing money quarterly in advance. And by doing this, now most of the departments, I'm saying most, sir, because every department has to give the requirements to us on time. The master role is there in PWD, PHE, medical, agriculture. Almost all the departments, about 8 departments have master roles. So therefore, most of these departments now give us the budget and the requirement beforehand. We give the advance payment to them beforehand, 3 months before. And based on that, the money is released to all the master roles along with the salaries of other government employees. So these are small things, but they go a long way in showing the efficiency level and the governance level and the delivery level that has improved at the grassroots level. Sir, another important aspect of governance which we have been focusing on, and I've been saying this in almost every statement or important debate that we've had, that we hope to see and we're working towards making Meghalaya among the top 10 states in the next decade. Now, this is a point where we are moving towards. And it's not an easy target at all. It's a very stiff target. But I strongly feel that only when we push ourselves and we set high standards and high goals for ourselves, then only we can motivate our team and motivate ourselves to really move forward. So accordingly, we have started now moving on, focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is for the first time that there is a concerted effort to localize these SDG goals. We have created a system where now the districts will have to monitor the Sustainable Development Goals at their level. We have an application, a software that monitors this on a district basis. We have rankings for every SDG for every district so that there's a competition among the districts to become better and better every month. Not only that, we have also decided that starting the next financial year, we will be giving a financial support of 50 lakhs per district in order to work towards improving their rankings in the Sustainable Development Goals. And we're very sure once these SDGs go up, this will clearly, directly reflect on the ranking of the state, and we are hopeful that this would be one of the ways in which we will be able to move towards becoming among the top 10 states in our country, sir. Similarly, in areas of ease of doing business, we have started really focusing on this, and we will see that in the coming year, there will be a significant improvement and growth in the overall rankings when it comes to ease of doing business, sir. Even the public affairs organization that had recently ranked different states had also given a good ranking to our state in terms of overall governance. In fact, that agency had ranked Meghalaya as the second best governed state among the small states. And this is clearly, sir, because of the number of steps that we are taking and consciously working towards improving the overall delivery mechanism at the grassroots level. So, sir, coming to the overall the second part of the first section, which is holistic development. Now, if you were to see all the programs that we are running, so you will be pleasantly surprised to see, I have spoken to you many times, sir, if you remember when we were in the cabinet together, we had decided that we will give one district to every cabinet colleague so that there could be a focused approach. It's like adopting a district. And South Garo Hills was your district at that point in time. And I remember you telling me that when you went there, you literally had tears in your eyes. And you told me that the kind of, the people are so good, and yet a district like South Garo Hills today, even after being created 29 years now, still is not come up to that level where it should be. And so you look back in the last 3 years, and you'll see a significant change and growth in what we have done. Partly so influenced by your visit, the way you spoke to me, and partly also because of the fact that I have visited South Garo Hills myself. Sir, in my tenure now as Chief Minister in 3 years, I have made 6 visits. I've spent nights and nights in Bakmara, simply because I feel that that area requires the kind of importance that it has not been given. So in the last 3 years, you'll see that not just the college, but we realize that Bakmara being neglected in terms of roads, a number of road projects have been given and they've started. I'm not talking just about the main roads, I'm talking about the internal connections of the village connectivity at PMGSY. The honorable members, whether from ruling or from opposition, will tell you that looking at the road connectivity at the grassroots level, especially PMGSY, there has been massive work that has happened, and we've heard it in the speeches that have been given by members, even from the opposition. They've said that, yes, a lot of work has happened in PMGSY, and they've thanked the government, and I would, in turn, would like to thank them for the kind words that they have given to the government for the work that we are doing. So therefore, you will see this kind of similar approach that we are approaching in almost all the districts and regions that we work on. In fact, when I sit with my colleagues or with the officers, I always look at these projects and I say, well, what about Khasi Hills? Then they say this one. I said, well, what about Southwest Khasi Hills? And I said, what about East Jayante Hills? What about South Garo Hills? So our approach has been to try and even balance the regional aspect. And as Honorable Prime Minister says, that the country is one whole body. If one part of the body is not healthy, the whole body cannot be healthy. So similarly, when Meghalaya State, the entire body of Meghalaya State cannot be healthy if every district and every constituency is not healthy. So therefore, with the same and similar mindset and approach, we are trying to push forward a holistic development program. So let me now just touch on 4 to 5 maximum important areas which I feel will cover most of the concerns of most of the members. So coming to farming. And so farming has been an important aspect that most members have mentioned about. So this year, this March 3rd, you are aware, sir, that we have launched a very ambitious program, which is called the Chief Minister's Mobilization Support Program. Now, through this program, what we intend to do is to support the farmers with an input of 5,000 rupees per farmer. Now, this is a very ambitious project, but I would like to just explain some of the details in this because some people could misunderstand when I say 5,000 rupees per farmer. Now, sir, last year COVID has seen the farmers facing a lot of difficulty. Now, we have tried our best to help as many sectors as possible, but obviously it's not possible for us to cover all because the scale is too big and there are too many sectors that we need to cover. But we realized that the farming sector is one sector that needs, not only is our primary sector and needs as much support as possible, but is also a sector that can really lead to tremendous growth in our GDP and in the income of the farmers if we are able to focus on this area. Hence, we decided to come out with this Farmers Mobilization, Chief Minister's Mobilization Support Program. Now, through this program, what we intend to do, sir, is that we intend to give each and every farmer 5,000 rupees, provided these farmers form producer groups. Now, what do the farmers face at the grassroots level? They face a problem because they don't have the scale. Now, somebody just grows and he manages to grow 2 kgs, 5 kgs, 10 kgs, which is not enough for him or her to have that kind of a weight to negotiate with the buyer. So therefore, if 5 or 10 farmers come together, they can create a much stronger lobby. So this 5,000 rupees will be given to each farmer, provided you form a producer group. Provided this 5,000 rupees given to every farmer will be used for the benefit of the group. So the individual farmers cannot take out the money for their personal use. It has to be used within the group. Now let me give you examples, sir. We realized that in Milliam Block, there were some farmers who just required a trellis. This is those stands that are there used for Scott plantation. So they used to normally use bamboo. But if they could just get this trellis made, then they would be able to increase their productivity and have a much more stable infrastructure to do this. When we spoke to them, we realized they just need 10,000 rupees to do this. That's it. And they don't have the 10,000 rupees also to do it. So they used to make these bamboo stands and they used to grow the Scotch in these bamboo structures. With this 5,000 rupees that they will get, through the producer groups that they will form, they will be able to put up these trellis and have a much more stable infrastructure to have a better plantation. The chili producers, we talked to so many of the chili producers and they mentioned to us that they just need tarpaulin, some of them, just to protect the crop during the frost seasons. So when the frost is there, it kills the chili plantation. And we realized that that would only cost 5,000 rupees. Farmers didn't even have that much of money to be able to just put that tarpaulin. This 5,000 rupees will enable the group together to come up with this basic infrastructure to be able to put these tarpaulins and these infrastructures. The weavers in our state, they're required to repair their looms. And a lot of them have been using those looms for many years. We asked them that how much do you require to repair your looms? And the average answer we got was 25. So we said 25,000. They said no, 2,500. So they just needed 2,500 to repair the looms that they had. This particular mobilization money for these producer groups includes weavers also. It includes people who are into poultry, into fishery, into piggery. All of these are included in this particular definition of farmers. So therefore, through this program, we'll be able to support all these kind of groups and give them that necessary working capital to be able to spend, but it must be done in a group format, sir. I'm happy to inform the House, sir, that in this budget I have laid down that in this financial year, we will be spending 100 crores to benefit 2 lakh farmers through the scheme. So I encourage all our members in this House, please encourage the farmers in your constituencies also to form these farmers groups so that the benefit can come. Next financial year, we will again target the rest of the 2 lakh farmers so that we will be able to touch overall 4 lakh farmers in our state within the next 2 financial years, and 100 crores has been sanctioned for this. Not only this, sir, we have to also realize, some of the members were mentioning earlier, I can't remember the names, but we had issues because outsiders used to come and exploit our farmers. So this used to happen, sir. Well, exploit is a one word, or you can also use the word that used to take advantage of the situation, because all said and done, when the farmers don't have options, then these outsiders who come to buy are the only ones that the farmers can rely on. So they used to take advantage of the situation because the farmers did not have options. Sir, under the same program, we intend to create collective marketing centers. So these collective marketing centers will be stock places, will be buyers who will be from the village itself, who will also be farmers producers group, who will be very much a cooperative society, who will then be able to buy the product from the farmers in case the prices are too low, which the outsiders or other, the Mahajons as we call them, the prices that they may offer. These collective marketing centers will be able to give a better price. Now, in order to do that, the collective marketing centers, whoever have formed it, the government has decided to give them 5 lakhs as working capital and 7 lakhs as loan to construct the storage places. Now, once we have all these collective marketing centers in different parts of the state, our farmers will not have to depend on outside market. Our farmers will not have to worry whether tomorrow the buyers will come or not. Our farmers will not have to worry that much whether the product is going to get spoiled and they will not be able to sell, because they will have local collective marketing centers who will then be able to procure their product. And we have seen the benefit of this. Just recently, even in ginger products, we had a program that we had started on this in terms of the ginger areas. And we saw that in the same period during this COVID time, where the price of the ginger went down to 5 to 10 rupees per kg, after we started the CMC program, the amount almost went up by 25-30%. So this is just a small indicator of how it could benefit the farmers. But if it is done in a much larger scale and organized in a much bigger manner, then we will be able to benefit many, many more farmers in the process. The third part of this program is that once these producer groups are able to really do well, we will upscale them into cooperative societies and give them further interest-free loans at a much larger scale so that they're able to go into different aspects of food processing and value addition also. So these kind of programs are being set up, sir, for the farmers. And this major program of our Chief Minister's Mobilization Support program, we will see approximately 200 crores being rolled out in the next 2 years to cover over 4 lakh farmers. And there's a lot of work that's already taking place, and we will ensure that more and more aggressive work is put into this so that this program becomes a big success. So another big program which we have been talking about is the Piggery Mission. Now, so the Piggery Mission, a lot of members have questioned about the Piggery Mission in a positive way, and they've given a lot of positive suggestions. Now, so the genesis of the Piggery Mission was the fact that we have a consumption of 15,000 metric tons. Now, 15,000 metric tons is our consumption, but our production is only 6,000 metric tons, which means over 9,000 metric tons comes from outside. We roughly calculated how much our state and our people lose every month because of the money that goes outside. Every year, not month, every year, it is roughly 200 crores. So about 200 crores of money is given to farmers from outside just to buy the pig and consume the pork that we are consuming today. So therefore, and that comes to about 150,000 pigs is the number of shortage that we have. Therefore, if we were able to implement the Piggery Mission in the right earnest, and we were able to really bring up our production, this 200 crores that goes out every year to other farmers in other states would then go back to our farmers. It would go back to our self-help groups. It would go back to our cooperative groups. It would go back to our women and organizations that are running this Piggery Mission. So this is really the key. And therefore, the market is ready. The question is how to facilitate it. That's why, under the leadership of the Deputy Chief Minister, this ambitious program of 209 crores has been taken up. And we are very happy to inform that it has started off very well. We have already spent about 16.71 crores from this amount, and about 95 different groups covering 1,367 beneficiaries have benefited from this, and work is started. And we will see that in this financial year, there will be a big boost to this program, and we will be able to touch our target in the next 1.5 to 2 years of covering almost about 20,000 plus farmers who will benefit from this scheme. And more importantly, the money that used to go outside into the outside economy will be again put back into our economy. And I hope that in the years to come, Meghalaya will not just be self-sufficient in pork, but we will also be able to export it to other parts of the Northeast, which also has a high demand for pork. So apart from the Piggery Mission, sir, there are many other missions that are on the card. The milk mission is there. We are working on the poultry mission, which is about 100 plus crores. We are working on the fish, the aqua mission is already on. Apart from that, we are working very hard on the Lakadong mission, Aroma mission, and so many other missions that are there in our schemes that the government has started, and we will ensure that more and more support is given so that as many farmers as possible can get benefit from these different missions that are there for the farmers. And we are sure, sir, with the push for the primary sector, which is the most important sector in terms of our population that is linked to it, will hugely benefit from all these programs that we are starting. And this coming financial year will be very, very important to ensure that it reaches all corners of the state. Sir, another very important aspect which I would like to touch on is regarding tourism sector, sir. Now, tourism sector has been something that we all have been speaking about and realized that how important it is for us to really be able to take advantage of the kind of opportunity that exists in the tourism sector. In the past, sir, we used to see that there used to be many efforts that were made in the tourism sector, but somehow they were not connected. So there used to be some event taking place somewhere, then there used to be some wayside amenity created somewhere else, then after that some kind of a program being organized for awareness, some other training going on somewhere. Somehow the dots were not connected. There was not a concerted kind of a strategy or a systematic approach to the entire process. So for the first time, of course, the tourism sector, the plan was made, but for the first time we are actually working towards a structured approach when it comes to tourism. We have realized that there are infrastructure deficiencies. We have realized there are very less quality rooms that we have. How can we increase them by ensuring that we are able to accommodate more people? How can we ensure that the existing projects, whether it's the Marriott project, whether it's the Crowborough project, how do we ensure that we complete it as soon as possible? And I'm happy to inform you, sir, that we will see the light of day for both these projects of Crowborough and Marriott in a very, very short time. Things are going on track. COVID was a small hiccup for us, but we are very, very hopeful that very soon both these projects will be functional and we'll be able to start both these hotels soon. So the infrastructure is one part, and apart from these rooms, we are going with a very aggressive program to expand the Orchid Resort in Barapani. So we realize that it's a very, very good property, but it needs more rooms. Now, if you were to have even MICE tourism, or whether it has to become a wedding destination, you require at least about 100 rooms out there. Now, we realize that, and in the EAPs that we're going to put forward, we have plans to expand the infrastructure there, rooms there. We have recently received a project proposal which has been approved, an EAP, which is approved means in principle we have got a green signal for it, so some more processes left to be done, but it is basically for increasing the circuits. So we will see Mokurwat area benefit hugely from this. So as I was mentioning to you, sir, the districts that have been neglected in the past. So we made a focused approach that we must have a big project only for Southwest Khasi Hills. So I'm happy to inform you that in principle we have got approval that 320 crore tourism project is going to be invested only for Southwest Khasi Hills, where we will see Jakrem Resort coming up. We will see the Nongna area being built up, all the way to Ranikor, the monoliths that were there. All these areas will be developed in a proper circuit, and we have got from Government of India, we've got a very positive signal that this project is being considered. Obviously, there is some more paperwork to be done. So before that is over, we'll not be able to really go into details, but in principle, about 320 crores project for this new circuit in Southwest Khasi Hills is coming up. Similarly, for Nokrek also, a similar project of about close to 200 plus crores has again been proposed for tourism development. And again, we are focusing on eco-tourism aspects. Now, why Jakrem, sir? Now, Jakrem is an area which has got the hot springs. If you go to any other part of the world, they built up such beautiful resorts around it and take huge advantage of it and market it so well as a medicinal resort and a spa resort, and they get customers. In India, there are so many hot springs, but none of them have been converted into a proper spa resort. I'm hopeful that this will be one of the first. So similarly, even in Nokrek side, we intend to focus on the strength, which is the greenery, which is the fresh air, which is the bioreserve that we have there, the citrus indica we have. How can we build up a tourism model around this in a sustainable manner without affecting the environment, ensuring that the impact on the environment is minimum, using as much of the materials that are less harmful to the environment, minimizing the contact with nature out there, but allowing the people to experience what nature is. So that kind of a model is what we're trying to develop this. But all these aspects will come in the infrastructural part. At the same time, we realize that we need to now connect this with the rest of the world. So therefore, we need to ensure that the tourists who are outside need to be connected back and should be able to find an easy way to come to Meghalaya. So we realized we need flight connections. So we've pushed for the Kolkata flight, and it's on. We have pushed for the Delhi flight. There are some challenges, but it is moving. And we are very, very determined, sir, that in the next 2 months, we want to have 2 flights regularly. Whether we have 1 customer, 2 customer, 3 customer, the people of the country and people who are interested in Meghalaya should know that the flight is there on this particular day at this time. And the tickets should be available with ease through the different booking sites. So these small challenges came up. COVID played a very spoiler for us. We were not able to start on time. The providers faced a big problem. They could not finish their work on time. So we faced some challenges, but somehow we came on track. Now we are trying to smoothen out the process, improve it, and hopefully we'll be having 2 flights. And maybe if the business goes good, we may even have 3, 4, 5 flights, not just from Delhi, but we hope that soon we will be able to have flights from other metros like Bombay and Hyderabad also. So therefore, sir, there's an approach to realize, as I said, that there's a structured approach to the entire tourism aspect, realizing that it's not just the rooms, it's not just the locations, but there's a complete process that needs to be linked up, and all the dots need to be connected to be able to get a real tourism sector benefit for the people of our state, sir. So coming to the youth policy and the youth side. So I have declared in the budget speech that I read out a few days back that 2021-22, which is the next financial year, which is a few days away from now, will be declared as the year of the youth. And the reason why we're doing that is because we strongly feel that youth needs to be given the attention and the importance, and we need to invest in this category. As you're aware, sir, majority of the population of our state is youth. And I've always maintained that the proper channelization of the youth's energy is the biggest challenge for any state and any country, sir. Especially for India, which has a youth population which is more than 50-60% of the total population. Now, what I mean by that, sir, is very simple, that if we are not able to channelize, not able to direct the youth to constructive work, then they will be a destructive force. But if we are able to move them in the right line and direct them towards the right constructive mode, then they can be the most constructive force that we can have. So therefore, these are the 2 directions we could go to. But it all depends on how we channelize that energy. Therefore, the youth plays a critical role, not in the present, not just the present, sir, but for the future of our state. And therefore, the youth policy is very critical. And we are really focusing on the youth policy to give that direction, to give the structure on how we will positively channelize the energy of the youth to have a constructive role in nation building, not a destructive role. Today, there are too many social elements, too many distractions in the world today where the youth can just simply go off track. So therefore, it is even more important that a very concrete youth policy comes out. I was reading the policy that was made by a country called Iceland, and there they named the policy Youth for Iceland. And in this policy, they had come out with a strategy that they had a very high substance abuse rate many, many years back. So because of the high substance abuse rate, they decided that they must come up with a very strong youth policy. Of course, the policies can be debated, plus and minuses there, but we can pick out the best parts that we feel are important. And therefore, based on that, the model of Iceland, we have come out with a policy where we're calling One Meghalaya policy, where we intend to direct the energy of the youth in the right direction by coming up with a program called One Skill, One Talent. We will ensure that our students and our youth are given talent and are given an opportunity to pursue the talent and an opportunity to learn a skill during their youth time. Now, these skills could be many things. Now, today, sir, a person who knows French language, without any difficulty, on an average, the person can earn 5,000 to 10,000 rupees just by the translation or different kind of work opportunities they can get. If a person learns Japanese, then the opportunity to go abroad and work in Japan, which is seeing an aged population coming there, again increases by 100%. So there are so many benefits of learning languages. I hope we will be able to bring out not just sports, music, different skills and different talents, but also aspects of linguistic language learning, so that our children will be able to learn different talents and different skills and different languages. So the beauty of this program also is that it's not just focusing on the youth, it will also on training the youth. It will also focus on the trainees, on the trainers who will also be our youth only. So it's not that I will be getting some trainer from Delhi or Bombay who's going to come and train our youth to, read music and play football. The trainer themselves are going to be the youth of Meghalaya. which means they will be the service providers, which means that we will be creating more than 3,000-4,000 service providers who will in turn create 3,000-4,000 enterprises who will train our youth in different programs, and the government is going to fund this program, and that is why we have budgeted 30 crores for this financial year, and we are targeting to train and give this service to 50,000 youths this year. It's a beginning, so we will see how the program goes. If the need arises, we can always increase the need, the targets also, but we have started with a very conservative target of 50,000 youths for this financial year, which is 2021-22, and we have a budget of 30 crores to be spent for this program, sir. So therefore, through this program, we will be able to really focus and channelize the energy of the youth. Apart from that, we are creating different kind of youth centers, counseling centers, helplines, and different kind of programs that are, that are going to be there in the program. I will not be able to go through the details because of paucity of time. But other members had mentioned about cultural aspects, language aspects of our own state being part of this youth policy. A very, very positive suggestion. Definitely, sir, we will look into those aspects also and try to incorporate wherever possible those suggestions themselves, sir. Sir, apart from the youth program for the youth, we also realize that there are other areas we need to work on when it comes to the youth. Like, for example, we have areas of sports. Now, sports is a very important aspect for the youth. And a number of members had mentioned about the national games. Sir, again, I would like to repeat that the national games, of course, is of great importance. And being able to host it in 2022 would have been the appropriate thing to be done. But sadly, this is not in our hands completely. And the Indian Olympic Association will decide on whether we can host it or not. But in the way things are moving, the chances look very, very bleak. Because we have Goa and Chhattisgarh and Uttarakhand who are there before us. And there's a gap of 2 years for every games that takes place, which means even if our turn comes, in all likelihood, if they follow the same sequence, then it will be after 8 years. So therefore, will it be possible for us to jump the queue? That's something that I can't say. It all depends on IOA. But Goa will host it this year. And then the next state, I'm not sure about who's next, but it's either Chhattisgarh or Uttarakhand, one of them. And so therefore, these challenges are there. We may be able to adjust few years, but whether we can host it in 2022 seems to be a very, very difficult proposition at this point in time. But having said that, sir, the important aspect is that we are not looking at IOA only, sir. We are going ahead with our work. We are going ahead with our construction. We have already sanctioned and given the work order for the PS Sangma Integrated Stadium, work for which has started. We will be finishing the football stadium within this next financial year, which is before March 2022, and we will be finishing the indoor stadium by September 2022. So therefore, our infrastructure, when it comes to Tura, will be complete by that time. Similarly, for Shillong, for the JN Stadium also, 150 crores projects has been sanctioned. The work order and the tendering process will start very shortly. For these projects also, we are very confident that within the next financial year, 2022, we will be able to complete the infrastructure work in that area also. And in Jayante Hills in Vizag, we have also put up an integrated stadium there with a football stadium. That project also, we are very confident that by 2022 mid, we should be able to complete that project also. So we are not waiting. We are going ahead with our infrastructural work. And as we go along, we will work towards creating other programs. So if we cannot host the Indian Olympic Association's national games, we are talking to other sports bodies to be able to host other programs. I spoke to the Honorable Sports Minister, Government of India, and he proposed, why don't we host the Northeast Youth Festival in 2022 in Meghalaya. So we are very happy for that, and they have almost given us a verbal approval for that. Similarly, the Table Tennis Association president called me about a month and a half back, and he asked me, would Meghalaya be happy to host the 2022 Table Tennis All India Championship in Meghalaya to coincide with the 50-year celebration. And I told him, absolutely, we would be. So the terms and conditions are being worked out. So we may be able to host the table tennis, All India Table Tennis Competition in 2022 in state of Meghalaya. So similarly, other programs like having the Northeast Olympics program or having the football tournaments or football leagues out here, we will work towards making sure that 2022 we are able to do multiple activities to really celebrate our 50 years and golden jubilee of our state. In fact, sir, the meeting for a discussion on that is going to be held on Wednesday, on the 17th, is the first meeting of the Apex body, which is chaired by myself, the Chief Minister. And all members, ministers, different individuals from different walks of life are part of this committee. And I'm sure that on the 17th of this month, we will be able to get a good roadmap on how we will move forward when it comes to the celebrations of the Golden Jubilee of our state. And for that also, sir, if you're aware, I mean, I've mentioned in the budget that we have budgeted 20 crores for the celebration purpose also in the budget. Sir, apart from that, we realize that youth requires a lot of interaction. Youth requires a lot of motivation. And therefore, in the last few years, we have started recognizing the youth in different forums. We started off with entrepreneurship, when we started giving the Chief Minister's Entrepreneurship Award. A simple recognition, but it goes a long way in motivating the entrepreneurs and the youth of the state. And seeing the positive response of that, we said, well, let's start giving the Sports Award. So we started giving monthly sports awards to different sports people. We have also decided now that let us start recognizing our musicians also. So we will be giving the Chief Minister's Musician Award of the month also. At the same time, sir, for the first time in our state, realizing that how many people are into music out here and so many are interested in the music industry, we actually started a consultation for the first time with the musicians of the state. We called them, the tourism department called the musicians, asked them, what do you think? How do you think we should move forward? Where are the challenges? What would you like to suggest? And we actually had a very constructive talk with the musicians. And again, I'm happy to inform you that based on those discussions, we have budgeted 5 crores this year to promote and to work on how we could actually really structure this music industry and take things forward based on the suggestions of the stakeholders themselves, who are the musicians and the different music stakeholders in the sector, in the industry. So these are the different things that we are trying to do to promote the youth of our state, sir. This year, I'm sorry, I mean to say this next financial year, we will also be having different kind of festivals to really promote different kind of arts and different kind of programs. For example, the Literature Festival. So we intend to have a Literature Fest, like the Jaipur Fest they have. So we intend to have those kind of festivals in our state. We want to have Art Festival. So we will be completing the SICK pack this year. We hope that we'll be having some kind of theatre festival also in our state. So all these are on the cards, and these are all related to the youth, because this will ensure that the youth get busy with things. So we all were youth, so we all know it's important to keep the youth busy. They need activities, they need an opportunity, they need to be guided, and we are hoping that the policy and these different programs that we're going to have will give the opportunity to the youth to be guided, to be busy, and to be constructive in a positive manner, sir. So this is the whole theme around the youth and how we plan to move forward. Another very important aspect to just close the youth chapter is regarding the early child development. Some members had mentioned about the early child development program. And of course, there are details of the program which I can't go through immediately. But the basic concept, and we are the first state in the country to do this, the basic concept is very simple, that all developed nations will tell you that the child's brain actually develops the most before the age of 8. Well, some say 6, but for our purpose, we have put it at 8 years. And this is the time frame where the child needs to be nurtured in the best manner, whether it's the food they get, whether it's the care they get, whether it's the talk that you do to them. And we realize that the ASHA, the centers, the Anganwadi centers are simply nutritional centers, where we check the height, check the weight, and it matter ends there. There is more to early child development. It's a psychological process. It's a process where we also learn, we guide the parents how they should speak to their children. A lot of children, parents don't realize that what you speak to your child when the child is 3, 4, 5 years old is something that impacts their mindset and the growth that they have in the future. So around this theme, we are also seeing that early child development program is important, and that is why we have increased the budget from last year and put it at 20 crores this year for this early childhood development program. And as I said, sir, we must be one of the first few states to be doing this program, sir. And so the last point that I want to touch on in terms of the main areas that I would like to cover is the infrastructure area, sir. So therefore, infrastructure, of course, is at the base of almost every work that we do. Now, there's too much to be covered in infrastructure. I don't think I'll be able to go into all details. But just to give a feel of what we realized, that a lot of things were missing. And we don't need big interventions to be done in one go. But even if we do small interventions on a regular manner, we can create a huge difference. And that is why we started with the LP schools. So the LP schools were few. We started because there was fund constraint. But we said, let's start somewhere. And as we went along, we saw the difference it was making at the grassroots level. So we started with 30 schools, 40 schools. Then we reached 100 schools. And today we have done 208 schools. We realize how important this is. And that is why in 2021-22, we will be making new LP schools in 400 locations. I mean, these are not new LP schools. I mean to say the old LP schools, but new buildings will be made in 400 locations. Similarly, the next year again, we will try to ensure that that happens. So within this next 3 years, which is this year, next year, and next to next year, we are hopeful that we'll be able to cover about 1,000 schools. So yes, we couldn't do it in one go, but as you look back and see, you'll realize what difference you've made in this child's education and in that entire education system in that village. So therefore, these are small interventions, but making a huge impact at the grassroots level. Now, I'm sure most have not gone, because I guess there's not much need to go. But if you visit the police stations, you will see that half the police stations have not been painted and touched for generations, decades. And there's no infrastructure. I had a small review with the DG and the ADG the other day, and I asked them that what are the shortcomings in the battalions that you have. So they made a chart for me. So there were like 8 parameters in it. So tick means yes and a cross means no. In I think 4 of the battalions out of the total 6, right? 6. In the 4 of the battalions, out of the 8 or 9 parameters, 7 were cross and only there was 1 tick. To the extent that they didn't even have the women's barrack, they did not have the commander's room. They didn't. One of the battalions doesn't even have electricity, or didn't have till recently. I think they just got, but they were running for the past 3, 4, 5 years using generators. Now, sir, these are key infrastructures we need to maintain law and order and system in our state. So, for the first time, there is actually a systematic approach to improve this structure in a phase-wise manner. And for the first time, we have actually dedicated 80 crores to be able to renovate and improve the battalions and the police stations. Similarly, in the blocks. Now, in the blocks, last year we had a small issue. We had proposed for it. We are hopeful that we will be still able to take up a few of them this year. But we are continuing with this program, and we want to improve the block infrastructures also. We are also working towards the health infrastructure. I've already announced multiple times that all 600 plus centers that we have in the state, all will be taken up. JJM has seen one of the best performances in the whole country today. And as I said, we are going to be one of the few states which will get bonus money in terms of implementation of JJM. Roads sector has been one of the shining examples of efficiency and implementation in this government. And we have seen members from the ruling as well as opposition appreciate the work that is going on in these sectors. So infrastructure has been critical. And I would like to state that this coming financial year, 2021-22, is going to be the year where the honorable ministers and the officers concerned will have to focus on ensuring that timely completion of projects is done. If we are able to achieve that, sir, you will see a transformational change in this financial year in the state. And let me just read out one or two names, words, and you'll be able to visualize it yourself. I wouldn't have to go into details. By 2022, January 21st, we should be able to inaugurate the assembly, the new assembly building. This has been a big, I should say, vacuum and big demand of, I think, the general people of the state. But finally, we'll be able to see, and with all the work that's going on, we can clearly see that it will be one of the best assembly buildings in the whole Northeast. The P.A. Sangma Stadium that we are building up, again, an iconic stadium which will be built in record time. And it's just that we need to ensure that we follow up. The entire Tura has not seen any kind of real change in its look for many, many years. Once the P.A. Sangma Stadium comes in, which will be one of the biggest and the best dedicated football stadiums, it will be an iconic structure which will completely change the look of Tura town. The JN Stadium, if you were to look at the indoor stadium that's going to come out in JN Stadium, it's a tourist destination, sir, which will have a swimming pool inside it. It will have a complete amphitheater over it and different kind of infrastructures inside it. And of course, the current JN Stadium, which is there, will also be upgraded. We're going to spend 50 crores to upgrade the infrastructure in the JN Stadium. The Shillong Ropeway is in a very advanced stage of things being finalized. We have got the consultants will be put on board now to put this. Ropeways are not very complicated projects because it's just towers to be put up, and then after that you get the boxes and you connect them. So we are hopeful that within 12 to 18 months we'll be able to complete the ropeway project also. So it's an iconic project which will see tourists not having to go with their taxi through the Air Force, and they will simply go up and enter the end through the cable car, reach the Shillong Peak viewpoint. And we'll also have cafeteria and shops which will again be upgraded, and we're going with a very unique model of tying up with the landowners out there and making them part of the project so that there'll be some kind of a revenue sharing model with them which will give them a lifetime development aspect also attached to it. So this kind of iconic projects will be completed. The Juwai beautification project is on the verge of being tendered out. The beautification in Juwai has never been done. These are simple interventions, but simple, the center points and the locations that are there, the important junctions will be beautified. Similarly, the Tura beautification project, work order has already been given, and the work is going to commence in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The important roads that have come up, whether it's the World Bank project, whether PMGSY projects, whether it's the National Highway projects, all these projects have now started, and it's very important that departments should focus on timely completion, and if this is done, there will be a massive change in terms of the connectivity in the whole state. The water supply schemes, whether you talk of the Shillong, Greater Water Shillong Supply Scheme, Finance has already decided that additional funds will be given to complete this project. Though the scope of work has reduced a bit, but nonetheless we will ensure that whichever scope is given to us will be completed. The Longstein Water Supply Scheme, which was left, again is going to be completed. The Ramrai Water Supply Scheme, again which was left, will be completed. The Bakmara Water Supply Scheme has been sanctioned already, and very soon we'll be commencing the work for that also. Tura Water Supply Scheme, the augmentation work, that also has been done. So like that, so there are so many projects that you will see that are going to be completed, and once those are done in this next financial year, there's a lot of change that's going to come in. We are working on a very important project. I think one of the members from Shillong had mentioned about Shillong beautification and the cleaning of the Wamukra and other projects. So we are very keen that all our towns and cities should be clean and really polished, I should say, when we touch 2022, 21st January. So we have decided that right after this session in the new financial year, we will be working with the localities of different towns to have a competition among the localities of the cleanest and the best locality in the city or in the town. So this will allow a healthy competition to take place where the the locality, people and the locality leaders will be motivated to paint their houses, to paint their boundary walls, to clean up their locality, and we will reward and give financial rewards to these kind of localities that are able to achieve that, which I feel will go in a very positive manner to really uplift the look of the cities and the towns. River cleaning projects are being taken up. There's a Wamukra and the Umshirpi project that is at a very advanced stage with Jal Shakti. There are some technological aspects which we are working on with them. So those aspects we are waiting for. But the Honorable Minister Jal Shakti has given me indication verbally when I met him last time that he is very keen to see this project go through, especially as a gift to the state for the 50 years celebration. We are also going to start mechanized cleaning of our streets from this coming financial year, which means we'll be having machines, vacuum machines to actually pull out the dirt, as well as some machines to polish and brush the roads that are there, which you have seen in many developed and metro cities. We are hopeful that in this coming financial year, during the process of preparation for the 50 years of our statehood, we will be able to start this mechanized cleaning in Shillong, Tura and Jawai at least. I know Nongstoin also will ask and others will also ask, but it will be depending on the financial resources we have. But at least we would like to see Shillong, Tura and Jawai, these three locations to start this mechanized cleaning at the earliest. So these are the few things that we are working on towards getting the overall preparation for the 50-year celebration. Apart from that, sir, I have a long list of, of points that are mentioned by so many members. And just to share with you, apart from these two booklets, which are full, I have also 3 sheets of additional notes that have been made. But just to touch on a few things, when Mr. Hima Shampliang had participated, he mentioned about the civil subdivision. He mentioned about and the PWD road, or the PHE thing, which he had mentioned about the changing of the officers. He had mentioned about the Veloy Balat road, the Kasimari bridge to be taken up. Mentioned about post to be sanctioned in Lauba for the health PHC, some additional equipments required out there. So I have noted all these points that the Honorable Member has mentioned out here. So definitely we will be going through all these points and trying to take up as many of them and resolve as many of the issues that were mentioned by the Honorable Member himself. Kong Amperin, Dr. Amperin had also mentioned about budgetary provisions for the Greater Shillong water supply. So the numbers are not here with me immediately, but we intend to complete that. We had got a special infrastructure grant from Government of India worth about 200 crores. And from that, a significant amount has been already sanctioned for the Greater Shillong water supply. The number is not with me here, but I can assure the member that we will be giving funds for that, and we have already sanctioned some money to start the work. She had asked about the farmers. I have given a very detailed reply about the farmers. She had mentioned about the MRSSA and the entry-exit points. So I have mentioned, so the entry-exit points we have already started in 3 locations have been completed. And we will be working on completing the other locations also at the earliest. Ratachera also, the land acquisition work has already been done. So we should be able to start the work there very, very soon. The Honorable Member had mentioned about also the shortfall in the revenue for this year of 1972. And the shortfall has happened technically because of the decrease and the revised estimate of the Government of India based on the COVID situation. And here, sir, I would like to just touch on what the Honorable LO had mentioned about the loan component. And so there's always, of course, a debate about expenditure, loan, the debt component that comes in. All these factors are always debated in economic forums and even among officials and political leaders. But ultimately, there has to be a decision that government has to take. Now, throughout the country today, there has been more or less a unified decision that in times of COVID, that when the economy is seeing a slump, government has to come forward and increase its spending. Because when government increases spending, then automatically it affects the entire economy and you can see the boost happening. So therefore, with the kind of, the motion of the economy that we have seen, that now, right after we saw some relief from COVID, we cannot say we're out of it. It's up and down, but we're slightly better than what we were. We saw in the last 2 months that we had record GST growth, which simply reflects that the consumption patterns have now started going in the positive direction, which means that there is a trend of economic growth, which indicates that this is a good time for the government to increase its spending. And that is why, based on the rules and the level of debt that the government is allowing us to take, which is 4% of the GDP, we are going ahead with this FRBM amendment and taking that amount because that's the amount that is permissible by the government of India. And it would be, I should say, it would be not appropriate for the government to not take advantage of that, especially during COVID time. But yes, I think Honorable LO's point is well taken. We need to keep a watch on the debt levels. We need to keep a watch on the interest payments. We need to ensure that there has to be a balanced approach to it. But then does come a time when government has to step up things. And as a government, we decided that we must go ahead and increase our spendings. We must find ways to get additional revenue through EAPs. And we must also ensure that the overall money from the centrally sponsored schemes, the implementation also improves. So that's the background for the financial aspect that was mentioned. So Mr. Merelborn, CM had mentioned about the many sectors, like the price rise of different products and the women PS to be enhanced, child labor issues, the health sector improvement in his constituency. He mentioned about the grants for the higher secondary school, the government college in Nongpo, teachers' salaries, the farmers' program, the Airy Silk. He was very thankful to the government for that, and I thank him also in return for appreciating the work. Then he mentioned about the lay-by markets, awareness to farmers, free seeds and power tillers to the farmers. Mentioned about the Jal Jeevan Mission, and that he's concerned about the fact that how will we look at locations which don't have sources. So obviously, sir, this entire exercise of Jal Jeevan is very complicated because every village out of these, and every house out of these 580,000 houses, they'll have their own specific programs. So in some locations, it will be retrofitting. Some locations, we will have to search for a source. In some locations, the source is there, but it's not enough. Some locations will have to create a source. So there will be all different kind of challenges that we will see. But retrofitting started off because these were the quick ones. And then while the retrofittings were going on, we were looking at how to improve the sources. Now, just to share with all the members, why we are going with this reservoir program that we have today. Now, we have already started work in about 30 of them, and we intend to do about 50 by the end of this financial year. So these reservoirs and these multi-purpose reservoirs will act as source, and they will be the source through which the JGM programs will be supported. So therefore, it is a multi-departmental work that's going on, but it's a very valid point, and we will definitely look into that aspect also. He mentioned about the MITP being focused on border areas. We did some of them, sir, like for example, the Dalu-Bakmara Road has been taken up under MITP, and as more funds available, we will definitely look at other areas also. He mentioned about the Western Bypass, and definitely, sir, Western Bypass is something where the surveys are going on now. Mr. George Lingdo, sir, had mentioned about the fact that the reduction in the divisible pool was there. Sir, I would like to correct him on that in terms of the divisible pool that was there, the amount had actually gone up for us, but because of the revised estimate was lesser than the budget estimate, but it was still higher than the estimates of the previous 14th Finance Commission. So technically speaking, our divisible pool has actually gone up, even though the revised estimate has come down for this financial year, because we used to roughly get about 250, and we are still getting 280. So, but we were supposed to get 400 plus. So right now, the divisible pool is still higher than what we used to get last. So the divisible pool has gone up, and in this coming financial year, it will go up to 360 plus. So that means that it's going to be another increase of about, from the revised estimate, it's going to be an increase of about close to 25%. Additional amount will be coming for the divisible pool. So therefore, and even in the percentage format, if you see, we have gone up from a 0.67% to now 0.74 or 0.75% roughly, plus minus, I can't remember the exact. So our divisible pool actually share has gone up for us. But he's right, sir, the cess and the surcharges percentage now forms about 20% of the entire revenue that's collected by Government of India. And it's a big debate that's going on in the Finance Commission and Government of India that the states also should get share of the cess and the surcharges that Government of India collects. We are all, as a state, we are all working towards fighting for this. Hopefully we'll get that, but it's really something that's not in our hands. But Government of India and Finance Commission are discussing, but it's a large chunk. It's a large chunk, almost 20% of the entire amount that's collected. Sir, sir, I don't know whether I should go on like this, sir. There'll be about 20 people I have to cover. You mentioned about the Umroi airport also, and the infrastructure for the roads. So that aspect, the proposal we have discussed with the Deputy Commissioners, and we are actually examining those points also. So there is, Mr. Mohinder Rapsang had mentioned about the Smart City project. So it's going on. We have already in fact sanctioned some additional projects for Laimukra project also. Very soon we'll be going for the IIIC, which is the Integrated Command Center proposal. We have proposals for parking lots amounting to 100 plus crores. We have proposals for creating different tourist information centers. So the project is very much online, and a lot of the projects have already started, and many of them will be sanctioned this year. The challenge we face is because 50% of the funding has to come from states, sources, or our agencies, whoever we have. So we are always working on ensuring that the pressure on the state government should be minimum, but it's definitely a project which is going on in full swing, and we will try to complete all the projects in the quickest manner. I've already clarified on the river cleaning projects that we have in mind. Mr. Macmillan had mentioned about the water supply project of Nongstoin. So that project also, sir, it's already on. He had mentioned about the fact that the land tenure system needs to be codified. I think it's a very positive step, and definitely the other district councils can be asked to follow the similar structure. He mentioned about the Sepsing Higher Secondary Memorial School, and that aspect also is something that all the government schools we are working on. I will discuss with him separately, and in the next financial year, we will try to see how we can work out. And I could see a smile on your face, sir, when I was mentioning about the points you mentioned, because the last he mentioned about the Mairang district. So, so that also we'll be discussing, and we'll be examining these aspects also. So he mentioned about the Nongkinjat sub-center to PHC. So the health department is examining all the proposals. Wherever necessary, we are looking at improving that. Mentioned about civil hospital, the machines. Definitely it's an area where the machines are required. Definitely I can assure you that this is an area where I will definitely look into, because this is health concerning aspect, and this is very important. Mr. Vailad Mikishira had mentioned more than 15 points in his speech and deliberation. I don't think I'll be able to go through all of them, but he had mentioned about the Thadlaskan beautification project. Definitely, sir, in the project for tourism development, Thadlaskan is one of the key and important locations that are there for us. He mentioned about the GHADC and the fact that the salaries are not being given on time. So the amounts that are due from the state government are being released on a timely basis. But he gave a good suggestion to see whether we can have some kind of a discussion with them and see how we could find a way to improve that. But that's against the autonomous body. So it will not be appropriate for government to say that we'll set up a committee. So this has to be done in consultation with them. He mentioned about the protection of the Mintudu River. This, of course, after we work towards the Shirpi and the other rivers here, Wamukra River. So similarly, some Mintudu also will be something that we would be closely watching, and I will definitely see how we can take the Mintudu River Protection Project also forward. He mentioned about the non-functioning of the B.Ed and the maternity hospital. So there are certain laws and new guidelines that have come regarding the B.Ed college, which is actually creating a hurdle for us. But we will see, sir, how we can resolve those issues. Similarly, the maternity hospital issue, we have already in the process of recruitment. I'm hopeful that this will be done very, very soon. If I'm not wrong, it might have already been completed, the process. So therefore, sir, this should not take much time, sir. So Mr. Kimfa Marbanyang had mentioned about the police outposts in the border area. So this is a commitment that has been given by the government. So this is one issue we will take up. It's a sensitive area. So definitely we will consider this in a very positive manner. He had mentioned about the interstate border schemes. I've mentioned it before, that interstate border scheme is something that is, a small amount of about 20-30 lakhs, which again is important. But I think the development aspect should not be seen from only this one scheme. When it comes to border areas, we give schemes from power, from road, from from health, from PHE. So it should be seen in a holistic manner. And if you look at that, then there's a lot of schemes that are going in. But definitely the Honorable Minister for Border Area Development has also mentioned that we will be giving some schemes for the interstate border scheme also. You mentioned about the tobacco industry. So this is something that it would not be appropriate for me to give a commitment or anything, but we can definitely examine this. Tobacco in any form is hazardous to health. So I don't think whether we can promote the usage of local or any kind of tobacco. But he's given a suggestion, sir, if the health standards and all these aspects are looked into, we can definitely examine it. But I would presume, I'm not a doctor, I would presume, sir, any kind of tobacco is hazardous for health, sir. But I will examine the matter also with officials concerned. Sir, apart from that, I was having lunch when Basun was speaking, so there's a handwritten notes by somebody else, so I'm not being able to go through all. But I remember Basun whispering into my ear before I came in to the room, because he had gone up to have lunch. He mentioned about the first ground under SSA is not being completed. So I have noted this point down. I will look into it, but I don't have the exact status with me right now. But I know that this is of importance to you, so I'll definitely look into this aspect also. I think Edelbert Nongrum had mentioned about Piggery and Poultry Mission. I have gone in exhaustive detail about that. Mr. Balajit also had mentioned about the roads. One section of the Bolaganj road is already, I think work is going on right now. And so there are many notes here. I'm not being able to go through the exact detail of that. But I've taken a note of his suggestion in that. He had in fact mentioned about the equitable distribution of development in rural and urban, and I had given that same comment in my opening remarks. He mentioned about the tourism aspect in his constituency. Definitely it's area which we'll be focusing on, the border huts that were mentioned by him. And he'd also mentioned about the districts in Sora. So as mentioned in my remarks in the reply to the governor's address, that the government is obviously looking at bringing the administration closer to the people. But there are all issues that need to be resolved, and also the financial aspect has to be taken into consideration, sir. So we'll be looking at all those aspects before really going forward in our final decision for these. So Mr. Rakham had mentioned about the fact that South Garo Hills District needs more focus and more attention. He mentioned about many schools having single teachers. So therefore, we are going under the rationalization process to do that. He mentioned about the fact that Bakmara still does not have a DC office. So this, of course, is a matter of concern. But definitely, sir, we'll examine this depending on the financial availability, because we have just recently sanctioned additional hospital building, a new circuit house, and a water supply scheme, and a new college for Bakmara. So therefore, we may need to see other districts also and distribute funds equally. So we'll look into that. So the bus demand that he has mentioned, of course, is genuine, but we'll also have to look into the financial position. So I was thinking that let's finish the college building first, and then we will see about the buses at a later stage. But definitely, sir, we've noted that point. So Mr. Jigur has mentioned about the Nongstoin to Mauet Road. So this is already on the cards, and it must have been for some practical or like programs clash that the 29th program was cancelled. But shortly, sir, after this session, we will ensure that we go ahead, and I can assure the people of Motion Constitute and Motion constituency and Nongstoin constituency that this road will be made. This road, we have already sanctioned the funds for it. We were not able to go that day for the foundation stone laying for some other emergency programs that come up, but we will be going shortly along with Honorable Deputy CM to ensure that we lay the foundation stone for this road, and we will also ensure that this road is completed on time. So I want to give you that assurance. So Mr. Rupert Momen had mentioned about some of the bridges that are very important in his constituency connecting Karkuta to Resu, in fact recently in Karkuta. So definitely that's an issue that is of great importance. Again, sir, we have sanctioned a large number of roads and bridges in the constituency. We will see how we can take this forward, and again, as I said, sir, depending on the financial availability, we will take this project forward if the finances are available. We have to look at the bank of sanctions of the PWD department and ensure that it does not cross the prescribed limit. So all those aspects have to be looked into, but nonetheless, sir, this bridge is very important, and we will ensure that we give it a priority from our side. But the exact commitment I cannot give today because I have to see the entire financial situation of the PWD department. But nonetheless, I'm giving this a priority, and definitely we will keep it at the top of the list. So he had mentioned about the primary sector in terms of livelihood. So these are, of course, important, and all the projects of mission mode we're taking are meant to address those issues, sir. So Mr. Zenith Sangma had mentioned about the MRSSA implementation. As I've mentioned in my earlier reply also, that we have already started in fully functional in Umling, and the infrastructure is completed in Mendi. We've already finished the land acquisition in Ratachera, and in all the locations in the first phase, we will try to complete the process at the earliest. At the same time, so the different task force committees have been set up in different districts, and because of COVID, of course, we had a bit of a glitch, but we had already started the work, in fact, in Shillong City, where a number of meetings were held with the DC and the headmen to implement the existing 2016 Act and the provisions of that Act. So he had mentioned about some areas where the Saubhagya scheme was implemented, but the lines were not charged, yet the bills were coming in. So, sir, I would ask the member if we could give details of those villages, and definitely we will look into that, because that should not have happened. If it's not been charged, then there's no question of bills being given. So I will ask the department to look into it. He'd mentioned about the blacktopping of PMGSY roads. Sir, it's an ongoing process. Many phases are there, and so therefore, in phase-wise manner, the blacktopping of the roads that have not been blacktopped is being done in a phase-wise manner, and we'll try to complete them at the earliest. He had mentioned about the road, which was from Garobada to Rangsakona. I can't remember the exact kilometer, but I think it was 9 kilometer to 11 kilometer, I think, if I'm not wrong. So that portion also, I have given a commitment to the people that we will take it up, but because of the GHADC election results, so we were not able to take up the project right after the election is over, when the election code of conduct is off. So I will ensure that this project is taken up, because this is a very small stretch of about 1-2 kilometers, and the Honorable MLA was present there when we had inaugurated the building. So he had mentioned that to me at a personal level, and I had given my commitment to the people also that we'll be doing that particular work, sir. And same, he had mentioned about the JGM source. I've already replied to that. So the Honorable LO had mentioned about the the debt aspect, and looking at the entire finances of the state. So I have clarified to some extent about that aspect. He mentioned about the fact that MECL is bleeding and we need to take steps. It is absolutely right, sir. The points are again, the entire MECL episode and the discussion and debate has taken place too many times in the House. So I don't feel that I should go into that details. But the only line I want to mention, sir, is that just need everybody to understand and appreciate that it is a process. It started and it's going on, and there have been challenges all along the way. And it's not that there is one person or one government to blame. It's that it's an entire process that has taken place. And everybody has done their part to change things and improve things. They did their part. Some worked, some did not work. We are doing whatever we can. Some things are giving results. Some are taking some more time. It's a continuous process. All we are saying, sir, is that there should not be a finger pointing saying that it's only because of you that was happened. So therefore, I think that's the only message that I wanted to give. The details are too complicated, and it will require just a different level of discussion to go into all those aspects. But I think I'll stop at that, sir, when it comes to MECL. But I have taken the points, noted the points given by the Honorable LO regarding the different issues, regarding the regulations, regarding the fact that we should take up with Government of India, look at the options of selling the power. All these options are there, sir, but obviously he also was there. He realizes that everything has got plus and minus to it. So we really need to examine and see what would be the best way forward to minimize the loss that MECL faces. And we will take everybody's suggestion and try to move forward in this line in a positive manner, sir. So he had asked about the MECL, that what is the levelized tariff. Sir, it's 4.5 rupees, sir. That will be the levelized tariff there. Regarding the costing that he had asked, sir, I don't have the details with me right now. So the honorable member from Ampati, Srimati Miyami Dishira, had mentioned about education and ensuring that infrastructure should be increased, especially regarding the Teachers Training Institute, the BITE building. I don't have the details with me right now, but I have taken note of those issues. She mentioned about more machinery being given to the farmers. So we had distributed 27 power tillers in the last year in the district. And this year, sir, we plan to increase the numbers to about 333 in the whole state. So therefore, that will ensure that more farmers get these machines. So seeds also through different schemes were provided at subsidized rates to the farmers. So we have taken the textile Muga and the Eri Silk project in a kind of a mission mode. Not specifically mission mode, but we have put targets in front of us and we are trying to take this forward. But I've noted the suggestion. At the same time, the rehabilitation center, so we have in Maudyandyang, there is one that is coming up along with with some of the NGOs. So we are still working on seeing how they can work with the government. But there is a proposal to put up one in Maudyandyang, and some of the NGOs are doing it. But again, very valid proposal and valid suggestion that the honorable member has given, and I have noted it down. Regarding the man-animal conflict also, sir, seeing if we can create an elephant corridor. Of course, it's a huge task, sir, but we'll see how we could take this forward and try to minimize the man-animal conflict that is taking place right now, sir. So the honorable member from Jerang had mentioned about the sub-centers, that he needs more and the upgradation needs to be done. So I have duly noted that point. He had mentioned about the mini stadium. In fact, a few days back, we had a discussion. So we're looking at an indoor stadium right now in his constituency, but he's stressing on a mini stadium also. So definitely, sir, we'll examine that aspect. Here I mentioned about the civil subdivision. Again, sir, the same yardstick will apply. We will look at the feasibility, and at the same time, we'll also look at the financial viability and expenditure, availability of funds in order to move ahead with that. But definitely the concerns of the MLA in terms of Patharkama being upgraded from administrative unit to a civil subdivision have been duly noted. So Mr. Piyush Marvin had mentioned about the different export points to be improved in terms of the infrastructure. the second phase of the Nongstoin Wakaji as well as the Nongji Mohoshkola second phase to be taken up. So the Honorable Deputy CM also is here with us. He has duly noted those points, and definitely we will pursue this with Government of India. He had mentioned about the health sector improvement and the power sector improvement, especially in areas of Ranikor to Mohoshkola. I have also duly noted those points out. And he mentioned about the civil subdivision building at Ranikor, sir. Obviously, sir, that also is all depending on the financial availability, because there are a large number of buildings to be constructed. But I have noted the point down, and we will work on giving priority to the suggestion also that's given by the Honorable Member. So, sir, with these few submissions and clarifications, I hope I'm able to cover most of the points. As I said, I could not cover all because I still have about 40-50 sheets in front of me, which I think will not be possible for me to go through. But we are always open to suggestions, and once again, sir, I'm thankful to the honorable members for the valuable suggestions they give. I always treat suggestions, sir, in a very positive manner, whether it's coming from the ruling and the opposition. For me and the MDA government, sir, we are here to serve the people of the state. So if any suggestion that comes in that helps and allows us to really make a difference in the people's lives, really improve their living standards, and help them in whatever way possible. So we are very open to all the suggestions, and we take it in a positive manner. And once again, sir, with these clarifications and the submissions I have given to you, I once again thank all the members who have participated in this budget debate. And with these few words, sir, I would like to resume my seat. Thank you, sir.